This is the Panic Playdate, and it may be the most fun and charming gaming console that I've ever used. Let me tell you a little more about it. Welcome everybody to AppleInsider. Thank you so much for hanging out today. It is me, Andrew here, and you can find me on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. If you haven't done so already, take the time. Please go ahead and smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. I am particularly excited today because this is not something that happens all too often. You don't often see an entirely new gaming console come to market. And the Playdate has been in development and ready to launch for a long time. And we are just now getting to talk about it, and people are just starting to get their hands on it. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I am going to break it down into sections, starting off with a bit of a history on the device, who developed this, and all of that. Then I'm going to talk about the specs of it, how it works and how much fun it is to play, and then what games are available, how you get them on here, and all that kind of stuff. So use the chapters if you'd like to. Otherwise, stay tuned. Come with me as we talk about the new Panic Playdate. Despite the increasingly crowded gaming console market, there seems to be room for at least one more player. We of course have the big consoles from the likes of Sony and Microsoft. There's even ones that kind of span the gamut between Nintendo with its Nintendo Switch line that's both portable as well as like a TV-based console. Then you have new ones like the Steam Deck coming out. But the Panic Playdate is something that doesn't aspire to be like any of them. It is something wholly unique and charming in and of itself. So this was developed by Panic in partnership with Teenage Engineering, which is an engineering firm, and they do some incredible stuff with hardware. So they partnered on this to create this adorable little piece of hardware that is super small, can fit in your pocket, but has a gorgeous screen on it and some fun stuff at the same time. You may or may not have heard of Panic before. They've done a bunch of stuff that you should be aware of. They've been creating Mac software for years. They're going back all the way to 1999 when they came out with some great apps that I have used personally for quite some time, including Coda, which was desktop development software, which became Nova, which is their current IDE. They have Transmit, which is an SFTP, FTP, and S3 client for transferring files. You've got Prompt, which is an SSH utility for iPhone and iPad. But then they went into game publishing, and we got things like Firewatch in the Untitled Goose game. Both incredible games. And now the Playdate is their first piece of gaming hardware. And just like their software, they pretty much knocked this thing out of the park. Here's a rundown of the Playdate's specs. Playdate has an 8-hour battery life of actual playtime, but when it's in standby mode, it can last 14 days, and that includes with a cute little clock positioned on the screen. It's got 802.11n Wi-Fi built in, and Panic says that Bluetooth will be coming in a future update. There's 4 gigs of flash storage on the inside for storing all of your games, and it has a USB-C port on the bottom. You can use this both for charging as well as transferring games and data to and from your Playdate. A USB-C to USB-A cable, color matched in this adorable yellow, is also included in the box. There's a small mono speaker located on the front, and there is a headphone jack on the bottom, which also has the TRRS microphone input as well. TRRS has that fourth ring on a lot of headphones out there, including the ones that Apple makes you can use with this. The display is a crisp 400 by 240 1-bit display. Aside from that, there's a 3-axis accelerometer on the inside. There is a D-pad, an A and a B button. You have your menu button as well as the sleep and wake button there at the top. And of course, most unique of all is the crank that can pop up out of the side. No, it can't be used to charge this thing or anything else. It's used to play games, and it's really fun. Let's look a little bit deeper into this hardware, what I like and maybe what I don't like as much. So first up, it's pre-standard hardware that can actually be opened if you needed to, which makes it kind of crazy that you're able to open this. That's not something that you see with a lot of current hardware. They very much don't want you to open your hardware. You can do it if you need to with the Playdate. All the buttons feel super clicky and responsive. Even everything from the D-pad, more click than I usually see, and there's a lot more tactility than something like the Xbox controllers, A and B as well. Very nice and clicky as you press down. Sleep wake button, metal, easy to access, and you have to press it twice to wake up the device. So it won't automatically just wake up when you stick it in your pocket. You have to wake it up twice. And there's another little adorable animation whenever you press it. Little eyes show up. You have to press it a second time to wake up the second eye. Get it? I love it too. And then there's the menu button to access things like your settings, go back to the main menu, adjust the volume, stuff like that. The crank is phenomenal. So you can see it is a metal crank with a plastic bit at the end. So as you close it, it nicely locks into place, won't go anywhere. When you pull it out again, it feels smooth. There's a nice little bit of tension on there, and as you open it all the way up, it clicks right there into place. It has a really nice snap to it, and God, it is like a millimeter away from the body. It's perfectly parallel, and as you play games, like you can get fairly rough with this thing, and I never feel like I'm going to hurt the Playdate in any way, and it doesn't get close enough to like hit or scratch up against the body or anything. It's just a super well-designed crank. I never thought I'd be reviewing a crank on a game console, but hey, this is where we're at in 2022, and I kind of freaking love it. It's just such a fun way to interface with games. And speaking of the games, some of the games will use the crank, others won't. So it's not like you're, cornered into using this for every type of game that's out there. Some games will use it, others won't. One of my favorite little games on here is Casual Birder, which is a little absurd and a little fun. They use this to like focus your camera as you're trying to snap photos. You just kind of move back and forth to get focus, which I think is awesome. There's others where it can control time, and you move forward in time and backward in time. Another use it for surfing, which I'm dreadfully bad at, like really bad at. But overall, it's just a really unique way of playing with the Playdate and the various games that come with. So all that brings me to the display, and even after weeks of playing with this, I don't know how I feel about it. It's a 1-bit e-ink display, and it's really high contrast. You got your black, you got your white, and that's what there is. And it's super reflective, so in like good lighting, here in the studio, you can see how crisp that is and how nice and high contrast that screen is. You can see the clock versus the background. It looks great. But the problem is, I'm not always playing or want to play in bright light. And that, at times, became frustrating. There were times when I'm like in the car on a car ride, and I'm like, man, this would be fun to play right now, and I couldn't because I just couldn't see the display. Similarly, I like to relax and wind down, crank, pun not intended, but I like to wind down at the end of the day by playing some games, and I usually would turn to my iPhone or the PlayStation, but this was such a cool way to do it. But I can't play it in bed because the bedroom is too dark. Panic even says that it's best played like outside in bright light, which is awesome because modern phones, you can't do that. I can't take my phone into bright sunlight and have it do well. The phone gets incredibly hot and you have to turn the screen brightness really up, and it is not well suited for that. So this is like the opposite of a lot of the screens we have today, but it's still just hard to deal with when you're in other low light situations, which I found myself in more often than not. So I appreciate it when it excels, but there are other times where I'm just like, it's too dark and I just want it to be brighter. They say just because of the high reflectivity of the display, they can't put a backlight, and they tried front lights and they just didn't look great. So they opted to stick with what they have, an e-ink display. It lasts a really long time. It looks great. You just need to have light to go with it. Let's talk about games for the Playdate. Now, Panic has done something incredibly unique here, more than just putting the crank on the side of the system itself. What they're doing is rolling out a season of games. When you buy a Playdate, you get access to Season 1, which you will get 2 new games every single week. So every Friday, you will wake up with 2 new games on your Playdate ready to go. So that is 24 games in total that you will get with your Playdate, just bundled into that price. Whether you want to call them free or just part of the price you're paying for the hardware, that's what you get with the Playdate. So at a minimum, you'll have 24 games that you can enjoy the Playdate with. On top of that, they have a very open SDK that is available for free for anyone to download and create their own games. So you can create games on your computer, even in just a web browser, and transfer them to the Playdate to play. There's also third parties that are creating additional games that will be available for sale. So one of the first games that's going to come out is called Bloom, and this game will be $10. You can buy it, sideload it onto your Playdate, and play it. So there's going to be games available outside of the season system. You can create your own, and then Panic has its in its season. So there's a lot of ways that you can get games onto the Playdate. For me, I got access to the entire season early, and I've been playing around with a bunch of different games, and I have not made it through all 24 in the time that I've been using this because I get caught up in some of the games and I really, really like them. There's some that are just so much fun, and there's a lot of different variety in the games that you're playing. So you're not necessarily going to like every game that comes on the Playdate. There's going to be plenty that are just not going to be right for you. But there's also going to be ones that I think you will really like. So just scroll through the list and try them out. See if there's ones you like. There's Executive Golf DX, Saturday Edition. There is Pick Pack Pup. It's a bit of a tongue twister to say. Lost Your Marbles Boogie Loops, where you can create your own music loops. That one's fun. There's so much fun here. I already mentioned Casual Birder, which you're a casual birder. You're going around trying to take photos of birds. It's got a little bit of a Pokemon-esque feel. It's a really fun game. It's casual, it's small, and it's something that I love about the Playdate that I feel like I never get to play anywhere else. So there's a lot of stuff for you to try out with the Playdate, or you can buy additional games to load it up that are more suited for you, though they do carry an additional purchase price. So would I recommend the Panic Playdate? Absolutely. You need to be a certain type of gamer to appreciate this. A lot of what I'm seeing here are more casual games that are more fun and just easy and not as high stress. You're not going to get a first-person shooter or some sort of VR game or anything else on a Playdate. It's just retro, it's fun, and there's a ton of variety in the games that you have. I love the Season Pass system because it gives you a reason to keep coming back to this. You're not going to play the stuff and get over with it every single Friday. You've got 2 new games sitting there ready to play. And I absolutely hope that there's a season 2 of additional games to get. And I'm excited for the third-party market to fill up with other games that I can side load onto here over USB or wirelessly. There's so much potential in the Playdate, and I think it's a super cool piece of hardware. The crank is not just some novelty that'll get annoying. It is actually a useful way to play a lot of these games and a useful mechanic that I have not seen before. I think you will love the Panic Playdate, and if you are interested, I've got a link to their store down below in the description. Let me know what you think of the Playdate over on Twitter at Andrew_OSU or in the comments down below. Otherwise, stay tuned. I've got a lot more videos coming your way.